Hi everybody, I'm Kathleen Byram, and I would like to talk tonight about jobs that I walked out on. I just did a video about jobs that I got fired at, so you might want to check that one out too, if you're interested in this one. There were 3 jobs that I can remember that I have walked out on in my life, and what I learned about them. The first one was when I was young and married. Actually, it was before I got married, and I was up in Indianapolis with my partner, and we were dirt poor. We had a little apartment on Emerson, I believe it was, and it was bad. I was using pennies from a penny collection my dad gave me to buy Slurpees down the road. I would walk down to the end of the road and buy from the 7-Eleven a cherry Slurpee and a chocolate-covered cherry, and that was incredibly exciting and wonderful to get until the pennies ran out. Well, anyway, it was very hard finding a job. And finally, I gave in, and I took a telemarketing job. It was a job where they gave you a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper was just a list of phone numbers in numerical order. So, like, some people didn't understand that you could have a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers on it in numerical order and call it. And they would say, "How did you get this number?" Well, I didn't get the number from, it's the number in series that I'm going by from the beginning to the end of the page. So I would have to call the numbers on the page and try to get them to buy magazines. It was magazine subscriptions that I was selling. And all it took was one person who got a very nasty tone in their voice and said, "Don't you think if I wanted a magazine, I'd buy it at the supermarket?" And I was like, sorry. And I wasn't used to having to do things like this. And other people's distress was extremely important to me. I could look around the room and see people like drones on the phone doing their spiel. I know how it feels when someone does that to you. It feels crappy. You want to hang up on them. And so I got hung up on, but I also got chewed out. And it destroyed my spirit so bad when I didn't want the job to begin with, because it's horrible to do telemarketing work. For most people it is. And it was no different for me. So I ended up telling them, I just can't do this, and I ended up walking out. And this one girl whose eyes were red, I wondered later if maybe she was smoking pot. And that's why it was so chill for her, but it was not chill for me. And I thought I'd rather starve than do this job. Then the next job was at a cafe in Sacramento many decades later, and it was a joke. It was bizarre and surreal and unprofessional and just ludicrous. And one day I had just had it. I had gone crazy trying to take care of a crowd by myself that he had coming in intentionally and planned with nobody else to help. And it was ludicrous. It was truly ludicrous. And I can't begin to explain the things that happened there that were unbelievable. And I ended up leaving there. And I think I sent him a note before I left, an email telling him what was happening. And he wrote back, and he was like, okay, you've had your say, now I'm going to have mine. And he mocked me for a situation where I had gotten my keys locked in the car or something like that when I was out at a restaurant supply store. And I thought, is that it? That's all he has to say? Oh, of course that's all he has to say. He had worked me to the bone and sucked me dry. It was ridiculous. That was when I had a real work ethic. And so I just left. And I think that all the people there that worked with him were delighted. Not that I personally left, but that I walked out on him. I stayed friends with them. The next place was the Scissor Thrower job. And what I mean by that is there was this little factory, just a little building, where they did samples for upholstery, or like for like if you went in to buy a chair and you liked it and you said, do you have this in other colors? And they had like a placard with little samples of the different fabric and colors on it. That's what we made in the factory. We made those little placards for people, and it was really pleasant. And you could sit in a chair that was very comfortable and had a big, huge cushion like this thick in it. And we would sit in that and be really comfortable and glue those things on. And it should have been the most wonderfully fun job. Nobody talked. It was just work, but it was really pleasant to look at. I'm very visual when it comes to like colors and things, and I love it. Well, she, the owner, ruined it for everyone because she was such a jerk. She had the nastiest attitude, and I'll tell you what they told me one time, and that was that she had thrown scissors at someone. That's how nasty she was. And so one time she gave my check to someone else on a Friday, and I didn't get my check back until next Monday. Did she apologize? She didn't even look sorry. She was just like her. When I look back on this, I think that poor woman probably had a miserable effing life. For all I know, her husband could have been cheating on her and making her life miserable. We don't know. But I ended up walking out of that job. One day I just went out for lunch and never came back. And I already had another job. I was doing 3 jobs, I think, at the time. I remember somebody asking me at the nursing home, you're not used to work, are you? And I said, I have 3 jobs. And that was when I had a really good work ethic. Anyway, that's all I want to share with you about that. I'm Kathleen Byram, and I'm the author of Conversations with Dawnkey, A Bipolar Journey. It's available at Amazon and Walmart and Barnes & Noble online. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you will consider liking and subscribing and commenting if you have anything you'd like to share about your work history. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.